Hi, welcome to Module 3, Special Education Interviews. My name is Rebecca Bartlett. For this assignment, I interviewed an administrator, a special education teacher, and a paraprofessional. I asked them a series of questions, and I'm reporting my findings here. The first question dealt with child fine procedures. An administrator said that they try to identify them early by having preschool intervention teams. Later on, there are intervention and referral teams, and then students who are identified would be evaluated by a child study team, where IEPs, response to interventions, or 504s are written. The special education teacher also mentioned they do community outreach, such as having ads in local papers, tables at health fairs, posters, and websites where parents are directed to contact the district if they have any concerns regarding their children needing special services. The district also meets with residents that do not attend the public schools in order to help them create IEPs and get the services that they require. A paraprofessional gave me some insight about students who are already been identified, but they continue to be monitored by the special education teachers and members of the child study teams. There are meetings between the administrators, the teachers, and the child study teams to ensure that the services being provided are still appropriate. The most challenging role and why, when asked for the administrators, dealing with the process for students who are not placed correctly has been a major challenge. When students are not placed correctly, negative situations and conflicts arise within the school community and between the school community and parents. For the special education teacher, the most challenging role is having a consistent world. Students are receiving additional therapies outside of school, trying to keep the language and procedures consistent between all those therapies, and having constant communication in all the different facets of the student's world provide the most challenge. For the paraprofessional, dealing with unpredictable behavior that changes quickly and the degree of the reactions varies greatly, and fear that the student might hurt someone is a major concern for her. The most rewarding things for the administrator are building the relationships with students, getting them to navigate through their troublesome times, praising them, and having the students come back to seek out that praise because they do love it. For the special education teacher, it's seeing the students succeed and then keeping in contact with those students and seeing the continued growth even when they're outside of the classroom. For the paraprofessional, it's seeing her students socialize. Prior to working with her, her student was very, very reclusive, and now she sees that he has friends at school, so she sees that she's enabling positive growth with that student. Advice from the administrator regarding supervision is to include the regular education teachers and the special education teachers in all academic endeavors. So to think of them as a team, not special education and general education teachers. To think of them all as just the third grade team, and etc. The special education teacher advice is providing clear expectations to all the teachers and aides, and then working with the teachers, aides, and therapists to manage the effectiveness of the services, such as time management and pulling out of different classes when would be appropriate and addressing issues there. For the paraprofessional, the advice would be to be flexible, to be knowledgeable, and to be ready to step in, especially in the case of an absence. If the principal administrator is aware of what needs to happen, that transition will really benefit the student. The administrator can step in and make sure that the student is continuing to get the services that they require, even when someone is not there who normally provides them those services. Working effectively with parents. For the administrator, they voice listening to their concerns as a focus, to not take things personally. The parents are accounting for a lot of variables, so sometimes emotions do get involved. To empower the parents so they can become advocates among the special education community. And they also, at that district, have a special education parent advisory committee that provides resources and strategies to parents. For the special education teacher, working effectively with parents is one of the most important parts of the job. She stresses daily communication necessary for the success of students and using communication logs between the teacher and the therapist to update everybody. For the paraprofessional, she meets regularly with the parents about 2 times weekly. She says she has a very good rapport with the parents, and then if there's any major incidents, she would discuss them with the parents day of. Working with the regular education teachers. The administrator believes that the regular education teachers and the special education teachers should be collaborating in the planning process, and that they should both be taking ownership of the class. It's one class, it's not a special education class and a general education class. For the special education teacher, she stresses that students should be unaware of who the special education teacher is there to service, that so students don't have a negative identification, and that it's important that the teachers have their own desk and workspace in the rooms that they work in, and that both are educated in each other's role and plan accordingly, and that both teachers are involved in providing the modifications and strategically phasing those modifications out over time. The paraprofessional mentioned that she doesn't often work with the teachers on academics, as her role is much more behavioral. So she assumes the leadership role when dealing with the students' behavior and outbursts. So as far as working with academics, her student is very advanced academically, so hers is a much more of a behavioral role. Advice for a first-year administrator. From the administrator, he mentions jumping into the fire, sitting in every meeting and taking as much training as you can, talking to the director of special services, and he mentions if you don't know the language, immerse yourself in it and try to speak the language with the people who are already fluent. The special education teacher says to be open-minded to all students. You're not sure what they go through before they walk through the doors. To be trained in all areas of special education. To ensure that the general education teachers have a basic awareness of what's going on in special education, and to promote collaboration within the school community. The paraprofessional thinks it's important for an administrator to get to know the special education students as individuals, having meetings with them and asking them about how their needs are being met. The role of the special education teacher and the administrator mentions that the special education teacher, their job is to make the students feel like they are a student, not a special education student, that they are learning just like every other student in the building. And the administration is there to support the staff to make sure that the students feel like students, not just special education students. The special education teacher feels that they have a combined role of providing data to support the placement of students, and that data should be collected daily by both to drive the instruction and to ensure that students are being supported. The paraprofessional feels that the role of the special education teacher is to modify the lesson so the learning is accessible to all, and the administrator to ensure the modifications are suitable and effective. Characteristics sought in administrators. For the administrator, they would like somebody who knows the rules of the game, someone who can interact well with a variety of people. The special education teacher would like somebody who has empathy and to remember their roots as a teacher. The paraprofessional stresses the importance of being a good communicator, being flexible and responsive, desire to getting to know the students as individuals, and being able to jump in fully aware of situations in case of absences. Overall, some themes that I've noticed were the interactions between the administrators, the paraprofessionals, and the special education teachers. A lot of the rewards came from individual experiences. And the challenges, there were many different challenges, and those challenges were kind of in all different variables and different challenges for different roles. So for my future projections, I have 4 things I'd like to try to do: to establish strong relationships with the staff, with the parents, and with the students, to be knowledgeable, to have a general knowledge of special education, but then also to have specific knowledge of students, and to update that knowledge as often as need be. So an ongoing learning situation for myself and for my staff. to establish open lines of communication between staff, parents, and administrators. And there I'll also include those who provide extra therapies to special education students, and definitely to be adaptive and responsive. So as needs arise, as situations change, to just really be able to best service students by being flexible and knowing where my resources are so I can be responsive. All in all, things that I feel that I learned through this assignment was there are some things where the paraprofessional, the special education teacher, and the administrator are very much on the same page, but by seeing all of their answers side by side, I'm getting a much richer, I guess, a much richer vision of what it is to be in special education, of from different aspects of it. So from the leadership role, from the boots on the ground, and then from someone who's supporting those boots on the ground. So the one insight that I don't truly have is the parent involvement, which is something that moving forward I would like to get more of an understanding of the parent's role in all this. And I believe that that is what our next assignment will be. So hopefully I'll have a little more insight into that for the next video. Thank you very much for watching.